Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Nathan, and in this video I'm going to be covering the new and improved Mage Slayer feat in the 2024 Player's Handbook. I typically make videos about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition once a week, uploading on Saturdays or Sundays depending on my schedule. So if you like what you see, please subscribe so you don't miss any content. And right now I'm kind of going through all of the new classes and their changes in the 2024 Player's Handbook, but I wanted to take a brief break from that for this video in particular, as I've been designing new builds under the 2024 rules. This is something I've found that it's very powerful, and I just kind of wanted to share some situations of when to use it and when it's going to be good. And yeah, let's jump right into it. Here is our agenda for this video. I'm going to do an overview of the feat, talk about what it does. Then I'm going to go through some reasons of why you should take it. And I've also done a bunch of math and made some graphs and kind of comparing it to its closest competitors so you can see actually how good it's going to be in real play. So, overview of the feat. So, the Mage Slayer is a general feat and it has a prerequisite of being at least a 4th level character. This is pretty much standard for all general feats in the new Player's Handbook. So it has the following. It's an ability score increase for strength or dex, so it's a half feat there, as all the general feats are. And then it has a few other points. The first one is concentration breaker. When you damage a creature that is concentrating, it has disadvantage on the saving throw it makes to maintain concentration. And then the second one, which is really the big deal here, is guarded mind. If we fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, we can just cause ourselves to succeed instead. And once we use this benefit, we can't use it again until we finish a short or long rest. So essentially what this is a legendary resistance once per short rest for potentially any character. The concentration breaker is nice, and the ability score increase is nice as well, but the main thing here is guarded mind. This is probably actually the single most powerful defensive ability in terms of saves that we've ever gotten from feats, from pretty much anything up to this point. So, why should you take Mage Slayer? Well, first, if you want to improve your mental resilience, especially if you're a martial character who can make good use of the strength or dexterity bump. Now, it's important to note that the concentration breaker just requires damage of any kind, so you can do it with spells, and there's nothing here in particular that actually forces you to be a martial to use this feat. But in particular, if you're a barbarian, a fighter, a monk, a paladin, or a ranger, any one of these martial classes, it's probably something you're really going to want. Also, guarded mind in general is so strong, it's actually better for overall mental defenses than taking the resilient feat. Typically, you take this in wisdom. This does depend on the number of saves per short rest, as that's the cooldown of this part of the feat. And that said, in the past, generally speaking, when I was designing most builds, as I was going into higher tier play, so typically middle of tier 3, around level 13 or so, I would pretty much pick up Resilient Wisdom on just about every character I made that didn't have Wisdom saving throw proficiency naturally, just because as you get into higher tier, Wisdom saving throws are those things that crowd control your character and disable them, potentially causing things like fear or paralysis and that kind of thing, and you really want to avoid those. That said, Guarded Mind is better at protecting you from those effects than the Resilient feat is, and once we get into the math later, I will kind of show that. Additionally, if you're a caster, you can actually benefit a lot from this as well. It's not limited to just martials, and as I said, it's actually going to be better for your mental defenses than taking Resilient in all but the most extreme cases. And one of the big things here is that a 100% chance to save to pass a save is much better than, say, a 65% chance to pass that save. If you can survive that first save and not be crippled, it'll give you a chance to potentially kill the monster who's causing that condition before they can attempt to inflict it again. And I have checked the math for this for things like the Fighter's Indomitable, which is very similar in terms of its function. And even in these cases, Mage Slayer is still better for your overall mental resilience than taking Resilient on a character like a fighter or someone else who has a reroll on a save. And this is, again, because having a second automatic pass, essentially, is what Indomitable does if you stack it with Mage Slayer. It's just really, really, really good. All right, so let's go into some math and some graphs. So on these, I'm going to go from level 4, which is the earliest that you can get the feat, to level 20. I'm going to show two graphs. The one on the left that you're going to see is how many saves you can pass of a standardized level DC of, and the second graph on the right is going to be that as a percentage of the overall number of saves. So it's derived from the same set of data. As for where I got the standard level DCs, they are pulled from the table on page 274 of the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide. I have gotten a copy of the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide pretty recently, and I've been going through it. And notably, the whole thing on creating custom monsters isn't in there. I think that's probably because they're going to put it in the 2024, well, the 2025 monster manual. And that is something I did note was missing. So I'm going to be using the table that we have from the 2014 just for now. So first up is at level 4. This character has a proficiency bonus of 2, and the expected save DC at this level is 14. And I'm just going to be going with a character wisdom of 10, as this is probably what I would expect to have on something like a barbarian or a fighter. So what the colors of the lines on here, the blue line is our baseline, basically how many saves we can expect to pass without any proficiency at all. The red line is with wisdom save proficiency, and the yellow line is Mage Slayer, and the green line is for a character that is proficient in wisdom saving throws and has Mage Slayer. So I calculated the number of saves we'd expect to pass at 1 to 6 saves per short rest for this whole thing. And at level 4, Mage Slayer is better for your mental resilience at pretty much all of the numbers I calculated for. Moving on to level 5, the save DC bumps up to 15. And again, Mage Slayer is still better at anything 6 saves per short rest or less. Moving on to levels 6 through 8, the monster save DC has jumped up to 16, and still Mage Slayer is better even at 6 saves per short rest in terms of how many saves you can expect to pass. The main thing, again, that you're looking for here is you're looking to see if the yellow line and the red line have an intersection. That will show you at what point you can expect to have just as many saves from Mage Slayer as you can from Resilient Wisdom or a character that's proficient in Wisdom saves in general. Moving on to levels 9 and 10. At this point, Mage Slayer and Resilient Wisdom are equal at 5 saves per short rest, and beyond that, Mage Slayer is worse. Moving on to levels 11 and 12, it's still the same case. That intersection is right at 5 saves per short rest. The save DC is now up to 17. From levels 13 to 16, the monster save DC that we're looking at is 18, and Mage Slayer is better until 5 saves per short rest. And we see that intersection moving from 5 back to 4. And finally, at levels 17 through 20, where the monster save DC has jumped to 19, Mage Slayer is better until 4 saves per short rest. And you can see that intersection is between 3 and 4. Now, here's an important thing. What about a character that has 20 wisdom? Well, I have built a calculator that can pretty easily generate these numbers. So let's just see at level 17 to 20 what the difference is. As you can see, it shifts the lines up, but the intersection is still between 3 and 4, and Mage Slayer is still better until 4 saves per short rest. And if you go back and you look at the numbers for all the preceding levels, the intersections are pretty much at the same places, just the overall chance to pass is much higher if your wisdom is better. All right, so thanks for watching. This has been just a quick little overview on Mage Slayer and how good it is. Basically, if you want to boost your mental resilience and make 3 or less mental saves per short rest, Mage Slayer is going to do better than Resilient in just about all cases. Even for a character that is a caster and not a martial and can't make use of the other, the ability score increase as well. Yeah, I think this is honestly, I wanted to do the math just to kind of justify my decisions. Taking the Mage Slayer feat on my Draconic Trickster build I published a few weeks ago. I'll post a link to that up there. But once I've done the math, it's actually a pretty compelling case that I'm very likely going to be taking this feat on a lot of builds going forward. Pretty much anything that would take Resilient Wisdom, I would highly recommend considering Mage Slayer. Just the automatic save pass is extremely powerful. So if you found this video helpful, maybe give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you soon. Until then, enjoy all your D&D and all of your character planning. Bye.